I want to bring up a couple of the text messages from the 402. If the Pac-12 folds, how cheap can the Big 12 buy their network, the Pac-12 network? Could it end up being as a part of Pluto TV or Samsung TV besides cable packages? I don't know if there's any value in the Pac-12 network. That's one of their problems.
Yeah, I would think that. I mean, they've got satellites and things that bandwidth you can probably buy from them, or availability. But part of the Pac-12's problem was they tried to do this on their own, and because they did it wrong, they didn't make any money because they didn't partner with the network, which they could have kept all the money and not shared it with the network like the Big Ten has to with Fox or SEC and ACC do with ESPN. They just didn't execute it the right way. If the Big 12 does have a network, I would assume that they would just play it safe and partner with somebody. Plus, I would not be trying to get on Pluto or Samsung TV if I can be on a network, because as we've seen, those partnerships still matter.
Yeah.
Like right now they do. 10 years from now, maybe it's all streaming. I don't know. But I think that the networks have shown that it clearly does matter.
The way the Pac-12 network, I guess, is best described is the Pac-12 brains thought that 100% ownership was better than what the Big Ten saw, which was, hey, give Fox some of this ownership, and have this massive brand that you're now partnered with and eventually can expand with and grow into what the Big Ten network has now grown into, which is going to probably be a staple in like every home in America in 20 years. I mean, given their geography footprint. And the Big Ten was smart enough to say, like, oh, you need whatever percentage? Okay, we'll do that. Whereas with the Pac-12, who could have actually been like on the forefront of all of this stuff, like if you really look back at the history of the Pac-12 could be like the Big Ten right now. I mean, not exactly, but as far as like cutting edge and money and all of that, they were in the driver's seat on a lot of stuff, and they just took the wrong turn almost every single time. But basically, the Big Ten decided, like, yeah, we'll give a percentage of this up in exchange for all of the benefits that come with that, whereas the Pac-12 felt they had to have 100% ownership. They had to have it all, and that, in the end, really cost them. I mean, like, to put it as simply as possible, that cost them immensely. So, no, I don't know or think that there would be much interest in that, and, I mean, I don't know kind of if the timelines would even match up for that necessarily, because I mean the Pac does appear to be taking some tough breaths right now, but I don't think there's anything that's like it's turning off tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's turning off next year for sure. I think we have a little bit of time to see how this plays out, and it's interesting to see kind of just all of the moving parts of technology and cable and all of those things right now. I don't know how desirable a new network, conference network, would be or beneficial for the Big 12. The Big 10 and SEC are kind of established at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the way that you go if you're Brett Yormark and company. So unsure, really.
Don't laugh at me here, because you know how I am about all this technology, and I'm being serious. There's so many different ways to get things now that I don't even know half of them. I never heard of whatever he just mentioned as far as Pluto TV. But my question is, has Amazon, Apple, or anybody yet have they been able to dive in yet with anybody college football?
They have not yet.
Peacock
did, but that's
is
NBC.
There something simmering there that somebody might strike them early and make a ton of money with them?
Well, Amazon did offer money, and they got turned down.
No, I know, but nothing yet has clicked with them. And
well, I'll tell you who I don't think is going to be involved. At least I don't think so. I don't think Turner's going to be a big player. I don't think that they're going to be some like massive saving grace for somebody. I think that they could have some college football, but I don't think that's going to be like they're the NBA. That's their bread and butter. That's what they're focused on.
And on occasion, the NCAA tournament is that?
Yeah, and the tournament. I mean, they're involved in stuff, but they're just not going to be like one of those like along with Fox and NBC and like as a college football broadcaster in my mind. But yeah, I was actually thinking about this last night. Is if I'm Brett Yormark, I know inevitably those folks are going to get involved to some extent, and I know why the Big Ten turned it down, because even though it was more money than they were being offered, like this is not the same product. It's not the same launching pad and service and all of that. So I wonder like how much that's still developing on their end. But if I'm the Big 12, I'll take a little chunk of money to be your experimental, test tube and figure it out along the way. Why the hell not? I mean, how are you going to make the brand more national? How can you get more national than Amazon at this point? I mean, that's basically every home in America is ordering their toothpaste or, diapers or sodas or whatever from there. So They might not get they're definitely not going to get a number probably that was lobbed at them that was lobbed at the Big Ten. But, if you can get a little chunk from them and get creative with it, I think that would be a way to go for sure.
I wonder, and I know the Pac-12, what George Kliavkoff is also hoping is that since Apple and Amazon are right in the heart of Silicon Valley, and there's a ton of Pac-12 alums that work in the higher realms of those companies, that you can kind of do, and Smokey, you remember this in the early days of ESPN, there was a lot of sports on it, like if you were watching it in Florida like I was growing up, or like Texas, you'd be like, why is this sport on in prime time? Well, all the executives are from Connecticut. They love it. Like, they like,
Remember Australian rules football?
Yeah, they were, but it was not only just, but like, there was a lot of mediocre NHL that was on in prime time on ESPN back in the day.
I think back in the day they were just trying to fill time, and I think they just threw things as much as they could. But
part of the reason they leaned really hard in the NHL was because they had a bunch of guys from Connecticut who loved the Hartford Whalers. Like, it was a big deal to them. But then they, as they morphed into something different. So maybe he's kind of hoping that there's some tug at the heartstrings there, and there's, believe me, Stanford alums and working at Apple and Amazon, there's plenty of them there just from Stanford alone. So, maybe you see that, and then him trying to tug at that a little bit. I think with the Big 12, again, if you want to get the big two streamers and Apple and Amazon, and Apple TV is really interesting to me because I don't think they're going to mess with their price point too much like some of the other ones will, because they don't have to. It's $5 a month for Apple TV Plus, and they put out some really good stuff. They have not really gotten into sports. The MLS is the first thing, and Major League Baseball. And, if they get into college sports, like, what's better? $5 a month that you might go ahead and do that. Plus, everybody's got an iPhone for the most part.
I'm starting to notice, though, I get text anytime something's wrong on my debit, anything, $2.99 here, $9.99. Of course, a lot of it's iTunes and things like that.
Yeah, but that's how they get you.
It's just starting to get you. Here's the 6